Today we have a HyDraw CAD demonstration. I'll try to bring, as always, something new, like I do in all the demonstration I'm having, although I need to bring some general information about the software. So I start with a new drawing. And well, my purpose today is to draw as well like a sectional valve assembly, but not with the standard model for sectional valves. I will try to explain a bit how this sectional valve works. I will put a pressure compensator, anti-shock valves, shuttle valves, and so on. So this is slightly covering what I have shown in the last MD Tools webinar, which was showing at the end a manifold having sectional valves inside. So I want to design a small system with a pump, load sense pump. So I will search in my library just by typing pump. And here I want a variable pressure compensated load sense. I'm not taking any OEM specific symbol, although we have plenty in the standard HyDraw library. For instance, if you want to search for specific OEM symbols, you can just click on the three search button here and say maybe AV10 VSO. You will find Bosch Rexroth symbols, or you can search by component types. Let's say we can go and search for a pump variable single from manufacturer Parker, and we can search, and now we will find many more different symbols. We have a lot of items here, and we can find the PV or other series of Parker valves, pumps. By the way, this is our starting point. So our spool actually is made of hydraulic operated directional control valve. So I want to search for a directional control valve spool. I just need an inline symbol, hydraulic operated. Let me take just a standard spring center, and maybe this one is okay. So when you place a symbol in the drawing, you can really rotate easily, right click and rotate right. If you need to do a modification, now I really want to change a bit, because this is not showing, although this symbol is ISO compliant, I want to show that this symbol can have unlimited position in all the Y directions. So usually there is a symbol that we use in the ISO 1219. So I do right click block editor and enter in my editor mode. Well, first I want to remove this small segment. This change will apply only to this diagram that I'm making. So my symbol is made this way. And also I want to create a line, L4 line, starting from here to here. And now I want to move this line slightly to the left up. So right click, move. This is AutoCAD. So if you select the start point and want to move just 1 millimeter left and 1 millimeter right up, you can just type at. You see on the command line here. Let me highlight it. From the start point, at means you go at a distance -1 in the X direction, comma 1 in the Y direction, and the line is moving 1 millimeter left and 1 millimeter up. I want to copy the same geometry, so I want to say match properties, so that this line is yellow, and I want to copy again this line another position. So this is a standard ISO representation showing that this spool has a unlimited position on the spool sliding direction. Basically, I will control the position of the spool with a proportional valve, which will control X and Y port. Let me close block editor and save the changes. So now my symbol has slightly changed in my diagram. So from the pump, we will have a pressure line. Let me create a pressure line. So I want to create a pressure line going from here and going there. I will have multiple sections, so I keep a pressure line that is long enough. Later I will be able to edit, stretch, and so on. Now I want to create a connection line from the pressure and down here. Now I'm using the manual connection mode. I switch between manual and auto connect. So basically the difference is that in auto connect mode, which means when this item is pressed here, I can just click the connection type, select the start point and end point, and this is making the connection. Sorry, I took a wrong start point. Start and end, and this is making the connection. In manual connection mode, I will use later, I can just select where the connection is going to end up. But I want to have pressure compensator on the P line. This is usually applied sometimes in spool valves, directional control valves, to control the flow rate that is going across the spool. So basically from this pump, we will have flow rate, and we will have several of these sections, and we want to control the flow rate to the actuators that will be on top. So to control the flow on each section, we need a pressure compensator. So we'll go and find a logic element, screen, cartridge, logic element. We need a compensator, and I'll explain shortly how the compensator is working. So this one is good. If you need to place a symbol on a connection line, you can just place it on top, and automatically HyDraw will break the connection line into 2 segments. Now this pressure compensator is taking the pressure out, and we need also another pressure on the other side of the pressure compensator, which will be we will use the pressure difference from A and B port. So we will need to select the pressure that is coming from A and B. The valve that is used to select the pressure is a shuttle valve, so we'll search for a shuttle valve in our system. Shuttle, and we double click and place our symbol here. So let me rotate it. Rotate it right. No, let me flip it horizontally, and let me put somewhere here. Let me make connection lines from B, and we go up here, and from A, and we go up here. Now let's put the shuttle valve here, and the shuttle valve is a valve that selects pressure from 2 different ports. In this case, it is reading A pressure and B pressure, and the out signal will be on port 2, and we take this signal and we go back to the compensator. So this valve will make sure that the difference in the pressure between 1 and the maximum signal between A and B is constant, and this is making the flow rate constant across the section. So we can just move this pressure here in order not to overlap with other elements. We will need for sure a tank line, so let's make a big tank line here, and we connect also the tank line. Sorry, I just need the manual connection mode. That's easier. So normally in the closed position, P is closed, nothing is happening. When I pilot on the Y port, for instance, P is going to A, and then the return flow will come to B and will go to tank. And this is how the valve is working. Now we need to control, and we need the possibility to move this valve. So we will search for a pressure reducing valve, proportional style, pressure control, reducing. Well, I need a cartridge valve, not an inline, so let me go to the different folder. In HyDraw library, we have lot of folders and lot of symbols. So if you just need to represent graphically a system, how it works, there is no problem which kind of symbol you use. But if later you want really to specify component model data, it's better that you select the correct symbol according to the component type. So there are differences from inline valves or cartridge style or surface mounted valve. Let's go to the proportional valve, pressure control reducing, and I take just this one. I put this one on top, and maybe I flip it vertically, and I copy another one here. So by using AutoCAD copy, you can just right click, copy selection, start, and point. Now, let's say that valve 5 is controlling the port X. So we connect with Auto Connect. We want to make a control line from 1 to X. And at the same time, we want to connect port 1 with Y. In this situation, although now the solution is not bad at all, actually, but sometimes when you are making a connection line that is crossing several other elements, I recommend you use the manual connection mode. So you control where the connection is going to bend, and at the end you finish the connection. This is okay. I like more, and let's stay with this. Also, in this case, I don't want to have two connection lines too close to each other. Normally, my distance is 4 mm, two modules, two grid units, and so in this case, the diagram looks good. I also want to move this item ID here, and if you want, you can move elements here. Let's say this one is going slightly to the right. As you see, this is an enhancement in the HyDraw CAD 2021, which I'm using in beta. Now also the connection lines really moved, and this vertical line moved solidly with the symbol. In the old version, this was creating a small bend. So this is an improvement in rerouting logic for HyDraw CAD. Okay, our section start making sense. We need to select the pressure, and normally for this kind of valve we want really to control the pressure on the spool, and we cannot have too high pressure on the inlet for these proportional valves. So we need to take pressure from the main pump, and to do that we'll add another reducing valve, pressure reducing valve. Let's take this one, this symbol, and this valve will be connected directly to the P port. There is a separate drain. Later we will create a drain line. Now this is going to control. Let's make a big line here, and this is entering in the pressure reducing valve. Usually to minimize vibration flow, big oil flow effect, we put an orifice before or after this pressure reducing valve. Let me search for an orifice, and let me put it before, and I put it here. And this 1.0 is the size of the orifice. Let's say that we want 0.8 mm. So we can go to the orifice on the right and change to 0.8. If you want to display the diameter symbol, you can type %% That's a very old style AutoCAD shortcut. %C is making the diameter symbol, like here. Or you can just copy and paste from the Windows character the symbol of diameter. But in AutoCAD, %C is always the symbol for diameter. This is very easy. It will work also for any text that you write. Let me show you an example. If you needed to type a text, drafting menu, I want a text, a single line text starting from here, 3 mm height, 0 rotation, and I say %C 100 mm. So this is making the diameter symbol. If you don't want to see port 1 and 2 for a symbol, there is a command in the circuit menu which is called edit symbol port. We can touch the symbol and switch off the name of the symbol. So this is cleaning up our orifice. This proportional valve will need to be connected to drain line. So we create a drain port on top here, and we just connect here. Now, if we want, we can stretch to minimize a bit of the space. We can connect the drain for the reducing valve to the drain line. And now let's think at the A and B port, which we move up. When you select a line, you see that I have the possibility to make it inclined. I just now want to make only vertical or horizontal displacement. So you just press F8. F8 is enabling this this flag that you find here, which is ortho on. Pressing F8 will switch between ortho on and ortho off. So now I am ortho on, so it's only making horizontal or vertical change in position for symbols or entities. I want now to add anti-shock and anti-cavitation valve here. So let me search for a relief valve, screen cartridge, pressure control, relief, and I'll search for a symbol that is combining. This one looks perfect. I have anti-shock and anti-cavitation. I want to rotate it to the right. And this symbol is connecting maybe to the A port. And I can copy. And this symbol is connecting to the B port. And let's connect the tank lines. There could be other needs on our A and B port. We could need maybe a counterbalance valve or pilot operated check valve. Let's look for a counterbalance valve. And now let's look for a particular model code. Let's go to again to the more search options, fluid power tools. I want to reset and I want to search for a particular model code. So if you are familiar maybe with a Sun Hydraulics counterbalance valve, you can search for CBCH and search, and there you will find directly Sun Hydraulics model codes. And with a right click, you will be able to view the data sheets. So now HydroCAD is connecting to our online database, and in case of Sun Hydraulics, we connect directly to Sun Hydraulics website. So there you can verify if you are doing a good selection. Or if you don't want the Sun Hydraulics, but you want a replacement, you can right click on the symbol and show link the models. So now from that symbol, HydroCAD will list all available components from different manufacturers. So now we go for winner, hydraulics, and maybe we take NB11A, and with a double click, we place the symbol in the drawing. Now the symbol is upside down, so the cylinder must be connected to one port. So we flip it vertically, and now we can just move the symbol on top of a symbol. Now you see that I have that F8, which is annoying. I want to put the symbol on the, so you press F8 again, and that will switch off the ortho on. And now you are able to move the symbol where you want. We can copy again the selection and put this symbol again on the other connection and press enter. Now I need some room, so let's move this symbol to the right. And that's fine. Let's stretch this line. And as you see now, something has changed in the way the numbering scheme have been working so far. So until now, all the item IDs started from 1, 2, 3, 4, according to all the symbols that we have placed in the drawing. And now the last two have been grouped 11.1 and 11.2. This is because for these components on the right, we have all the model data. So now we understand that AutoCAD is able to group identical items in a diagram, so 11.1 and 11.2. And we expect at the end in the part list to have all these items in one row in the part list with the quantity 2. In addition, HyDraw is listing also the cavity name, and it has the possibility also to display more information like a pilot ratio. Let's say that the pilot ratio is 3:1. And then also the pressure settings, we want 230 bar pressure setting. As you see, we have the possibility to display several information for each component in the drawing. Again, now you see that I have the snap to grid. So this is annoying because I want to place in the middle. So just move it, press 1 and press enter. This is making a move of 1 millimeter down. Of course, if you are using millimeters, you press 1. If you are using inches, you will press you will type a fraction of inch. But this is handy because you can really easily, precisely position. Just select a direction, type a number and press enter. It will move that symbol or entity just by that amount that you type with the keyboard. We want now to move these symbols. Well, let me remove these segments I don't need. I later connect a cylinder. I move my symbols up, M for move and move up. And I want now to connect the pilot. And now on top of this, I have the cylinder, which now I'm going to search. So I close the search and go to find a cylinder, double acting, and I place my cylinder here. Again, now I switch to the auto connect mode and make a working line from 1 to cylinder and from 1 to right. Now, if you know the dimensions of the cylinder, you can type all the dimension always in the Party Manager. So the cylinder information are this bore, stroke, and rod. And we can type in information like the bore, let's say it is 200 millimeters, stroke is 1500, and rod is 125 millimeters. So the information will be displayed in the cylinder. If we don't need these components in the part list, we can just exclude, and this command will wipe out the item ID and the balloon. And now let's say that our similar to a directional control valve is made of several of these elements. So let's select and do a copy selection, and we copy another of these. Maybe the second section doesn't need the counterbalance valve, so we can delete the counterbalance valve, and we can stretch these lines up. Again, F8, and so the connection is going up. And then maybe we need another elements, which we can copy selection, enter. And maybe here we don't need the pressure compensator on top. So we just remove that line. We take this straight. Also this one, we go straight. The shuttle valve will be needed in any case, so I will take it because later I'll need to select the signal to go back to the pump. And by the way, my connection is now made properly. Let's say that all this is represented by something like a manifold. So let me draw a rectangle. Well, let me save my diagram. We save it on our desktop and say webinar April 01. Now I want to group all these items into an envelope. So I create an envelope, and the envelope is crossing all my connection lines. So when the envelope is crossing connection line, it will break into external ports. So this one may be our A1 port with a size of BSP G1 by 2, that's okay. And we can copy the same size across multiple external ports. Now this one is B1, A2, B2, A3, and B3. This one is called maybe PP2, and this one is drain 2. Let's say that these ports are plugged, so we can plug the ports, and this command will change the symbol to plugged port, and also this one we want to plug it, so it will change from open to closed. And this one is drain 1. Let's say that we need a test point. We can add additional ports to our system and P. So we have moved to the second tab here. And we want a BSP port G1 by 4. And we select it and put it here. We can connect the external port here. And let's say that we want to add a gauge port. So we go back to the symbol library, we find a gauge, pressure gauge, and we take it here. Let's say that we need a shut-off valve, shut-off, flow control, shut-off valve, line mounted. Let's take this symbol. We can rotate the symbol during insertion, so we can rotate left and position it here. Maybe we don't need connection lines here. We can hide the ports, and we can just move the symbol directly there. Really, this is up how you want. If you want to make connection, good. Otherwise, you can leave the connection as they are. For the pressure gauge, in this case, we can on the right, we can say the pressure min and max. This is a reduced signal. Let's say that it can reach maximum 50 bar and 0. So the range is 0 to 50 bar. Now let's say that we want to display in the drawing the 0 to 50 bar. So we go to the display setting, and we see that there are no display settings applied to this pressure gauge. So we can create display settings on the fly for a selection of symbols in the drawing. So under System tab, we can use this command called display format. So we have selected this symbol, and we click the display format. Now we want to create a new display format called pressure range. This display format is made of 2 attributes, pressure min and pressure max. Sorry, I did the opposite. So it's pressure min and pressure max. We want to display the units at the end, and we want to put a prefix, let's say minus, between min and max. And we click add. So this way, HyDraw is adding a display format to that particular symbol. This change is applicable only to this drawing, in this case, to this symbol. But if you want, you can make the same approach to the library manager applied to the pressure gauge. For instance, for a proportional valve like this, we may want to display the voltage or analog input if it is a current or a voltage signal. Let's say that we want to use the type. Let's say this is going from 0 to 5 milliampere. So I type 0 to 5 milliampere. So you can use any free attributes that you need. Otherwise, you can add the attributes to your component. Now we can, let's say that we want to display that 0 to 5 milliampere for all the pressure reducing proportional valves. So let us do that. We display format on all the symbols that we need. So we can select all the symbols where we want to display the pressure. We create a new display format called the type. In this case, you can add the name that you want, and we want to display the type. Add. And as you see now, this is adding 0 to 5 milliampere only for this first item, because this is where it was I added that information. So like I did for the external ports, I can go to the circuit tab and use the copy command, select the start point, and select the destination symbols. And when doing that, you can decide which attributes you want to copy. Now I want to copy only the type. So now all the type will be visible, applicable to all the symbols in the drawing. And by default, all the display format will go below the item ID. You can move to the position where you want. In the next webinar, HyDraw CAD webinar, I'll show how to efficiently build the symbol, and we will understand how to control the position for display format for newly made symbols in a diagram. I forgot to put all the shuttle valves because I need an LS signal out of my system. So that's my LS port, which I put somewhere here. And the LS port will be connected to the pump. And I need to go to the LS, selecting the highest signal between all the different valves. So I need another shuttle valve. Let's go back and search for a shuttle valve. But I could have copied the symbol in the drawing. But let me take a new one and flip it vertically. So let's say that this one is comparing the signal from this one. Position is not good. I just use the stretch sometimes. Slightly better. Okay, this is good. And so this shuttle valve will select the item 23, but then I need to take the highest signal between 18 and valve 4. So I need another shuttle valve here, which I will flip it. And this shuttle valve will need to take the signal, this one, and this one. And I need to go directly here. Stretch, and we can, by using snap to grid, we can have a standard sizing and distance between our connection lines. That's our P port, a BSP 3x4. That's our T port, BSP, let's say it's 1 inch. And I can copy the size to the other T port. That's maybe called T1, and that's the other P2 port, which maybe is plugged, and again is a 3x4. That's our item ID for the envelope, which we put it here. Let's say that the pump is only an example, so we want to hide from the part list. exclude from part list. And of course, we will have a reservoir somewhere, but let's keep it very simple, and we leave the drawing as is. I want to insert a title block now. So I go to my System tab and insert a title block. Let's take an A2, should be fine. Yes, maybe also. I could stretch a bit and fit into an A3, but let's keep it A2. Now we may want a list of external ports. Before doing that, let me copy the size for this port to also drain one, and the other ports. Okay, this is good. Now we can create a list of external ports. So we can make a port list of the entire system and insert in the drawing. And that's a table listing all the different sizes in our system. We can also have part list. Before doing the part list, let's specify some more item model code. So let's say that this valve, we want to search what is available in the online database. So we can search in Fluid Power Tools. And we find, let me take a Booker valve. And now I want to copy the same valve, copy this one to all the other valves in the drawing. Enter. Okay, so then they are identical. And now we can do the same maybe for the anti-shock, anti-cavitation valve. Let's search something that is available here. That's only a Vis hydraulics valve. That's okay, let's keep it. And I want to copy this valve to all the other anti-shock, anti-cavitation valves. Okay. And now we can renumber all items in the drawing. So when we do the renumbering item, now HyDraw CAD will delete all the numbering present in the drawing, and will do a scan left to right. So the numbering will start from, let's say 1, or we can decide that we want to start from 100. So the first symbol to the left will be item 100. In this case, it is the envelope. And then there will be 101, 102, and so on. In addition, HyDraw CAD will group identical items. So I expect now the numbering scheme to be smarter, because as you see, I have 105.1, 105.2, and 105.3, 0.4, 5, and 6. So I expect now that the part list is grouping identical items. So as well for the anti-shock valve, I see that the item ID is unique, 109, 104, 9.4, and so on. We can make a complete part list of the system, part list of the entire system, and we press enter. And the part list can include components and accessories as well. So we can click next. And as you can see, some items are filled in with information, lot are left over, and we can fill in the information that we need. We can insert the part list in our drawing, and then we can move, modify manually as we want. I show you some technique. Sometimes you may want to group identical items, although you don't have really the model code. So like in this case, let's say that the pressure compensator, you want to have same pressure compensator with quantity 3, but you don't know yet the model code. So a technique could be really to specify a not real, but really a fake model code like compensator. And you can copy the same model code to all the other items in the drawing. Okay, there are only two because the third element has no pressure compensator. Now, when we have copied the same model code, as you see now, this is the same compensator. So now if we renumber again, item ID, maybe we renumber only the two items here. We say renumber from 106. Now they are given the same ID, 106.1, 106.2. So the logic for renumbering is only the symbol can also be different. It's important that the model code is identical. So if the model code is identical, then HyDraw is able to group identical items. And in the part list, now there are some issues here. The part list can be updated. And in this case, the items are treated separately because they were separate in the beginning. Now, if we create again the part list, they will be grouped together. Part list. And now you see the item 106. There are two compensators. So now we may want to plot our system. Let me move everything down. So that it fits. The other technique could have been we move the envelope up, the title block up. That would have been the same. Now we want to plot our system. We go to our plot A2 and let me make a PDF. I want to plot with a colored line so that in this case the system is looking outstanding, also very easy and clear, crisp to read. So we can plot and let me save to my desktop. And this is how I have plotted my diagram.